Somewhere inside a hardened facility in Beijing, a machine just ran a simulation of the next war. It didn't guess, it didn't theorize. It predicted, down to carrier group positions, strike sequencing, and command decisions, before a single American general sat down at a briefing table. The system is called an AI commander, and according to defense researchers, leaked procurement documents, and Pentagon reports, it has been trained on decades of U.S. military doctrine, exercise data, and combat behavior. Every war game America has ever made public, every deployment pattern the Navy has ever repeated, every playbook the Air Force has ever telegraphed, fed into a machine that doesn't sleep, doesn't get tired, and doesn't miss patterns. The question isn't whether China built it. The question is, how far ahead is it now? And why did the Pentagon only figure out the answer by watching what China was buying? March 2023. Xi Jinping stands before the Chinese Communist Party and says three words that most Western analysts barely register: intelligentized warfare. Not mechanized, not digitized, intelligentized. It sounds like bureaucratic jargon. It isn't. Inside the PLA, that one word is a complete doctrine, a total reorientation of how China plans to fight and win its next war. The concept goes like this. Traditional warfare is about firepower. Informatized warfare is about information dominance. Intelligentized warfare is about something more dangerous: cognitive dominance. Controlling not just what your enemy can do, but what your enemy can think, what they can see, what decisions they can make before those decisions are already countered. The PLA had been working toward this for years, but in early 2025, something accelerated. DeepSeek drops, the Chinese large language model that stunned the tech world. Within weeks, according to a report by Recorded Future, one of the world's leading threat intelligence firms, a Chinese defense contractor confirms it has delivered a DeepSeek-based open-source intelligence model directly to the PLA. Not a prototype, not a test, a delivered operational tool. And that was just the piece they let slip publicly. Here is what makes this more than a headline. The U.S. military has spent 80 years building patterns, carrier groups that rotate on predictable schedules, command architectures that follow NATO interoperability standards, strike sequencing doctrine that hasn't fundamentally changed since Desert Storm. Every joint exercise, every public war game, every declassified operational concept. To a human analyst, that's decades of noise. To a machine trained on all of it simultaneously, it's a map. Defense One reported in November 2025 that the PLA is explicitly prepping for battles where AI systems work to distort each other's reality, where the first target isn't a ship or an airfield, it's the enemy's AI. Think about what that means. If the U.S. military increasingly relies on AI-assisted targeting, logistics, and decision support, and the PLA builds a system specifically designed to deceive that AI, then every American decision made with machine assistance is potentially compromised before it's made. The PLA calls this cognitive confrontation, advanced language models generating disinformation in real time, psychological operations calibrated to individual commanders, sentiment analysis and predictive behavioral models designed to maximize psychological impact. The goal isn't to beat the American military in a fair fight. The goal is to ensure there is no fair fight, to win the war inside the decision cycle before the missiles fly. In April 2023, PLA exercises were observed testing an AI system for artillery targeting. By 2024, Pentagon reporting confirmed China possesses advanced hypersonic missiles and a kill chain being integrated with automated command systems. One PLA exercise, documented by Defense One in March 2025, featured a system that automatically dispatched drones, tracked targets, and assigned strikes, without a human in the loop for each decision. Automated, persistent, faster than any human command chain. Here's where the story turns uncomfortable. The PLA didn't build this system from scratch. They built it from everything America published, demonstrated, and broadcast for 3 decades. The CNAS, Center for a New American Security, testified before Congress in January 2024 that China's military AI strategy is specifically designed to counter perceived U.S. warfighting advantages, not to build something entirely new, to study what makes the U.S. military effective and then engineer its failure points. Chinese military strategists watched AlphaGo beat the world's best Go players in 2016. They didn't just see a board game, they saw proof that a well-trained AI could discover tactics that no human had ever conceived, strategies that existed in the math of the game, invisible until a machine found them. They asked a logical question: if AI can do this in Go, what can it do in cyber operations, in naval command, in strike sequencing? By 2025, Georgetown's Center for Security and Emerging Technology analyzed 2,857 AI-related defense contracts published by China between 2023 and 2024. The finding: while legacy defense sector players still lead procurement, an emerging set of non-traditional vendors and research institutions is playing a consequential role. Private AI firms, university research labs, tech companies with no visible military branding. The same architecture America calls military-civil fusion, and it means that every Chinese AI company advancing language models and predictive systems is potentially advancing PLA capability simultaneously. China has the world's largest navy, the most active hypersonic missile program, a cyber apparatus that the Pentagon now explicitly links to wartime disruption of U.S. military mobilization, and now an AI layer wrapping all of it together. In November 2025, Defense One published a warning from U.S. planners that stopped just short of panic. They called it a deception gap. Here's what that means. The U.S. military has spent enormous resources building AI-assisted targeting, logistics, and command support. Systems that process sensor data, flag threats, and present decision options to commanders faster than any human staff could. But the PLA has been specifically developing AI systems designed to deceive those systems, to feed them false patterns, to make a carrier group appear where it isn't, to make a missile launch look like a radar glitch, to make a command network believe it has situational awareness, when what it actually has is a manufactured picture. And here's the part that should keep every defense planner awake. The US doesn't need to look to China to understand this threat. It's already being tested in Ukraine. Deception operations on a sensor-saturated battlefield, where every drone feed can be spoofed, every signal intercepted, every pattern analyzed by adversarial systems looking for the gap between what commanders think they see and what is actually there. The lesson from Ukraine is the preview. What China is building is the main event. The National Defense University published an assessment in January 2025 asking a pointed question: is the PLA overestimating AI? The honest answer buried inside the analysis was more unsettling than the headline. Even if the PLA is overestimating AI's current capabilities, the trajectory is not in question. The investment is not theoretical. The doctrine is written. The procurement is funded. Whether the system works today at the level China claims is a question. Whether it will work in 2030 is not. Inside PLA strategic circles, there is a concept they call the command brain. It is not a metaphor, it is a program, a tiered AI architecture designed to operate through 3 levels of increasing sophistication. Level 1, AI for counter command and control, using machine intelligence to target and disrupt US communications, logistics, and decision networks at the onset of a conflict. Crash the American C3 architecture before orders can be executed. Level 2, AI for operational planning, cutting through the fog of war at the tactical and operational level, processing battlefield data faster than human staffs can, and presenting commanders with plans that account for adversary reactions before those adversaries have reacted. Level 3, full decision advantage warfare, a system that doesn't just advise commanders, a system that is the commander, that runs simulations of US responses in real time, that models human decision-making under stress, under fatigue, under political pressure. That last level is what the leaked documentation around China's AI commander describes. A war simulation engine, trained to mimic, test, and defeat US battle strategies before the first shot is fired. Not science fiction, procurement documentation, defense contractor deliverables, exercises already conducted with automated systems dispatching strikes and tracking targets without human latency in the kill chain. The most dangerous part, it learns. Every exercise, every simulation run, every US response pattern fed back into the system. The model improves, the prediction accuracy tightens, and the gap between what America plans and what China expects narrows. In March 2026, China did something that tells you everything about where this race stands. Its foreign ministry warned the United States that the excessive use of AI in military operations could plunge the world into a Terminator-like dystopia. The country that has spent a decade building an AI-powered military with autonomous kill chains, cognitive warfare systems, and a command brain designed to defeat American generals before they issue their first order, warned America about the dangers of AI in war. That statement is not a contradiction. It's a posture, a signal to the international community, a way of framing the coming confrontation before it arrives. Because in information warfare, which is already happening right now with no declaration and no front lines, the narrative is the weapon, and China is running that playbook on multiple levels simultaneously. The AI systems for battlefield dominance, the generative models for disinformation, the predictive behavioral tools for psychological operations, the deception architecture designed to blind American AI before the shooting starts. The National Defense Magazine confirmed in March 2026 that the PLA is actively seeking AI systems specifically calibrated to counter U.S. warfighting strengths, not just to match them. Not parity, dominance. Here is what no Pentagon briefing will say in public. The U.S. military is the most powerful conventional force in human history. More firepower, more reach, more logistics capacity than any adversary has ever faced. But the next war will not be decided by who has the most firepower. It will be decided by who controls the first 60 seconds of decision-making, who sees clearly when the other side sees a manufactured illusion, whose commanders are executing real intelligence when the other side is executing bait. China has spent a decade building a machine to own those 60 seconds. And somewhere right now, in a facility that appears on no public map, that machine just ran another simulation. It already knows what America will do next. The question is whether America knows that yet.